everyone, my name is Caesar and I'm back again with another video to relay my experience of what it's been like growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And in today's video, I actually want to talk about all the things I didn't like. And because there are so many, I think this might be like a series of videos. It might not just be one, but we'll see how far we get today. So let's get right into it. So the things I didn't like about being Jehovah's Witness. Also, guys, please bear with me because I'm going to be like speaking from this book. I just don't want to forget some of the stuff, because sometimes I find like I ramble and then I forget things that I would have liked to say. So I'm kind of like going to refer to my notes every once in a while. But again, it is my experience, and yeah, I'm going to try and make it as authentic as possible. So the first one I wrote that I didn't like is the control. And again, it's a really, really big element of being a Jehovah's Witness, where you are being told who you are supposed to be. You're not really given much of a choice when it comes to a lot of things, because things are decided for you. And the funny thing about things being decided for you is they spin it in such a way to make it as if you choose pro them, it's almost as if it was you are the one that willingly made that choice or willingly made that decision, where in some cases it wasn't. I wrote a few experiences here where things were decided for me, and they were like kind of spun in such a way as if to say that, no, but you chose this, willingly, you wanted to do this with Jehovah, and at the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what, if I could have chosen otherwise, I definitely would have. I remember growing up in primary school, we weren't allowed, as a Jehovah's Witness, we weren't allowed, because I guess my study conductor was that strict, where we weren't allowed to participate in any sports at school. Okay. And I remember at my school, there came a time when everybody was kind of pressured into participating in at least one sport. And I remember trying out for netball, and I'll never forget that experience. I tried out for netball, thinking, okay, let me just join here. I got there this one time. It was like a training day, and the only training or practice we did that day was there was this girl standing in the middle, and we all had to stand in a circle around her, and she was literally just throwing the ball at us, and we had to throw it back to her, and she kind of did that in a circle, and I guess we kind of practiced just throwing the ball at each other. Nobody explained the rules of the game to me at that time, and I remember being thrown into a match. We were playing against another school, and I'm being put in a position, mind you, I don't even know the rules of the game. In my mind, I'm thinking you just run after the ball, and people who play netball will tell you that there are very like technical rules that need to be followed when playing. I guess with any sport it's like that. But anyway, went to this match this one time, and I kept doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing. And I remember being yanked by this teacher every single time, and she's shouting at me in the midst of the other kids. In my mind, I'm like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to catch the ball? So it turns out the position I was playing in, I wasn't allowed to run across a particular line, and I kept running over it because now I was chasing the ball. And again, this teacher was shouting at me, and it was such a humiliating, embarrassing experience that I vowed that day that I never, ever, ever, ever like touch or do anything netball related ever again. And I held to my promise, guys. And what I did after that, I moved on to chess. And funny enough, I think, I accidentally fell into chess, and I fell in love with chess. So started playing chess in primary school. And then it was also around the time that we started attending like Thursday meetings, because before that, I guess my family and I were only used to like regularly attend Sunday meetings, and because we didn't really have like transport to get to the meetings on a Thursday, Thursday meetings weren't really meetings that we attended. So then my Bible study conductor at the time made arrangements for us to be able to attend on a Thursday. And it just so happens that on Thursday would be game days for us at our school, where we go and like play sports versus other schools. And because I was like now in this chess team, it meant that there was that conflict of interest. On a Thursday, I would be out going to participate in playing chess for my school, and then we would play till so late that by the time I got home, and the meeting would be on, and sometimes I would get home and there wouldn't be enough time for me to prepare to go to a meeting, so I'd miss the meeting in essence. And the following day, or whenever I would see my Bible study conductor for my Bible study after that, she would want to know where I was on Thursday. And I felt like I constantly needed to come up with these lies and excuses to excuse myself for not being at the meeting, because a part of me really wanted to play chess, because, I had fallen in love with this game. So it was really so sad for me when the excuses ran out. There was nothing else to say anymore. And I just, had to end up quitting. And I'm not going to lie, I was really hurt about it. Like, I was really sad, because I do ultimately feel like I didn't have a choice. Then I went to high school, and I remember around the time I was in high school, my cousins came to live with us, and they came from a Jehovah's Witness household where their dad was an elder, the mom was a pioneer. And before they had moved in, the only like reference point I had with regards to asking about things you were allowed to do and not allowed to do was my Bible study conductor at the time. Because, as a Jehovah's Witness, there's so many things you are not allowed to do. You are kind of like, it's like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. You are almost in a position where you're like, okay, but what else can I do then? And if you do find something that you're really interested in doing, you need to like consult and find out, can I do this? So I feel like when my cousins and them came, their parents were very liberal and allowed them to do a lot of stuff. They were allowed to participate in sports. And I was like, oh, really? And like, yeah, no, you were allowed to participate in sport. Whereas I was strictly told that you're not allowed to participate in sport. And there were many various reasons given. Of course, it's like association, bad association, competition. Jehovah doesn't like competition. They would, yeah. And like I said, again, with me, it was, the conflict of the times when the sports would be played. So there were many reasons I was given as to why I couldn't. And then here they come with a different perspective. So for the first time in my life, it's like, oh, with all the experiences that I was getting from them and hearing with all the things that they were able to participate in, for the first time in my life, it gave me the liberty of, going outside of what I've been told by my Bible study conductor and actually going with them and feeling like, yeah, but it's justified that their parents or their father who's an elder said they could. Yo, guys, and this being an elder title, guy, it holds so much weight. The elder said it. If the elder said it, it goes. But anyway, so when my cousins and then came, that's around the time where I finally, I think, kind of had the liberty to participate in certain in other sports, especially in high school. So I remember we tried karate in high school, and then they came, my Bible study conductor and her husband, and they were telling us about Jehovah hates violence and the karate, I guess, has a violent element to it, blah blah blah. And I remember them referencing from this blue book, and I had a lot of internal like disdain for that book because I felt like it was written from such an American perspective, especially when we, moved from karate to joining a drama club. And then one of the reasons we were given as to why we couldn't really participate in the drama club was because sometimes in these drama clubs, you guys are going to be asked to act out a drama or a storyline that's in conflict with, your beliefs. And he made specific reference to, what if you guys are asked to act out a Christmas drama? In my mind, I'm like, okay, yes, South Africans do like celebrate Christmas, but I don't remember ever, especially in high school, like having to do a Christmas drama. Maybe in primary school people do that, but in my primary school we didn't. But I felt like it's such an American thing. In America, I think a lot of people do the whole Christmas drama thing, but in America, in South Africa, it wasn't a thing at the time. But anyway, we're given those scenarios as to why we shouldn't join, because we are putting ourselves in, not in harm's way, but we're putting ourselves in a position where we could potentially be exposed to that dilemma, where we then would have to make that critical, not critical, but make that decision anyway. And I remember in high school, the only thing I ended up participating in was first aid, like going to matches on a Saturday and just standing on the sideline, watching out for people getting injured and running out with the ice or, whatever medical supplies we have. Yeah, so the only other thing that I do remember participating in fully was first aid. Literally just giving first aid help to injured players in rugby matches, hockey matches, not so much netball. I don't remember ever like being on the sideline at a netball match, but I do remember with the rugby. I do definitely remember with the hockey. And that was the only other thing. And I remember the other sport also that I might not have mentioned that I did try to participate in was drummies. I don't know what they call drummies in other countries, but in drummies in South Africa is basically when you are part of this team and you have the girls with the flags. And I remember they call it a mace that you twirl around your hand, fingers, and you would throw it in the air and catch it. I had just joined, and I remember arriving home. My Bible study conductor was there, and I remember arriving with a mace in my hand, and she was so shocked. And she's like, but she said this in Afrikaans, like, Afrikaans is a South African language, maar julle is deel van die she gave it another name. In Afrikaans it's called trompoppies. It's drummies in English, and as julle deel van die tamboernoentjies, something in those lines. But she said it in such a disdained way, like the audacity for you guys to be part of this. And on that very day, guys, so many bad things happened that day because yeah, anyway, it kind of hurts me deep in my soul when I think about that, because these were events in my life where like important periods in my life, events in my life that I can't seem to forget because of the painful emotion that came with that. Because I remember after that, I don't know what she said to my mom, but my mom was so upset about that. I remember getting the beating of my life after they left, because I can't really remember what had happened that day. And that was like a frequent occurrence growing up, guys. And I think that's where my fear my fear of adults came in, because it was always that, you know what, if I decide to be rebellious or I decide not to do what they do, there was always going to be these consequences that were going to come of it. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I am the way I am, because it's like you're trying to avoid pain at all costs, because oh, it's painful. But anyway, again, around the time my cousins actually came and moved in with us, it was a very like transformative period in my life, because even at that time I think they even were commenting on the changes, you know, how I've changed in so many ways. Because before that, like, I didn't even realize I was this, and I'm really embarrassed when I look back at it. I was a snitch, guys. Oh my god, I was a snitch. I mean, and they used to gossip around me, and you know, you would know about stuff that were happening in the congregation with people, and they would say such bad things about people, and in my mind I'd always be thinking, oh my god, I'm glad it's not me. And whenever they'd say something about someone and you knew something, you would just add to it. So I'm really, really embarrassed when I think about stuff like that. And that's where I think that that snitching culture developed within me, because it felt like, oh, these are the things that they're interested in, and they will love you more if you, you know, snitch on people and you give them information about people that they need. So when my cousins came and they started living with us, they were like rogue. Oh, they were rogue, rebellious. They were doing stuff, guys. And I remember my Bible study conductor would constantly be asking me about my cousins, like the, and my answer for everything for them that related to my, I'd always be like, I don't know. Meanwhile, I knew everything. They would ask me that, I don't know, I don't know. And I remember my Bible study conductor calling me out on it. Like, every single time I asked you about your cousins, you forever don't know. And in my mind, I was like, I was not going to be the reason why those two are going to be pulled in a room. And then I was the one that, you know, snitched or said anything. And mind you, guys, okay, my cousins moved in. I was baptized when I was 13 years old, and they weren't baptized. And I remember they used to make fun of me for being baptized, guys. Yo, they made fun of me. They made fun of me. And this was around the time when I was like 14 years old. Yeah, I was 14 years old when they lived with me, with us. Sorry. Yeah, but again, you know, having them move in, I think was a very, very fundamental, you know, turning point type of time in my life where a lot of changes happened for me. And but anyway, I hated the snitching culture, and I think the impact that snitching culture and, you know, hearing how judgmental people can be about other people in the congregation, it was one of the things that had such a huge influence on me when I committed my gross sin. um, you know, I wanted to go to the elders and tell them about it, but I was always at the back of my mind thinking, oh my word, I'm going to be the talk of the town. Like, these people are the talk of the town in discussions in front of Bible study. And it was so bad. It was really, really so bad. I didn't want that for me. And I remember even when I was sitting in my judicial, and the elders kept asking me, like, why didn't you go to the elders and tell them? I kept saying I was so scared, I was afraid. But they kept on asking me, almost as if what I was telling them didn't make any sense. And I don't think they understood where I was coming from. They didn't understand. You know, at the time, it's like I didn't have the words to say what I was feeling inside. And I was like, if I could just rip myself open and just show you, this is why, maybe you guys might understand why I didn't go to the elders. It wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy thing to do, um, because of, you know, the gossip culture that's so prevalent in Jehovah's Witnesses, the judgment. Um, yes, on the surface they'll make it sound like, no, we care about you. Come to us with your problem. You know, Jehovah sees your heart, blah blah blah. And you would honestly think that that is the same situation when it comes to the elders. But oof, I learned that reality the hardest way, really, when I was going through my judicial process. And again, like I said, that's also another thing that I'm going to make a video about soon. So yeah, for now, the first couple of things I've spoken about is the control, it's the gossip, judgment, and, you know, being part of that snitch culture. And the other things, oh yeah, was okay. The other thing, I don't want it to be too long, but anyway, let me see which one I can talk about. That's not going to be very long. Okay, let me talk about my hijacked weekends. Hijacked weekends, because Saturdays were for street work, Sundays were for the house to house ministry, and you didn't really have time for yourself. I remember I would be so happy when a new month starts, because I would know that, okay, maybe for the first 2 weeks, um, there's no need as such to, you know, rush and be preoccupied with going out in service, because I still have two other weekends that would be left in the month to go out in service and make up for the time that I didn't go out in service. But you guys, a month would go by so quickly, and before you know it, it's like, oh my god, it's the last weekend of the month and you haven't gone out in service, and this and that is happening, and that is kind of like, you know, hanging over your head like a cloud, because you didn't go out in service and now you don't have any hours. And I don't know when I started cooking up my hours, guys, but I think when I was in high school, I started cooking up hours. But there was a time where it was very difficult for me to cook up hours because people would know when you didn't go out in service, because on Saturdays there was a designated spot where we all went out in service, and then on Sundays there was the group arrangement that you had to go to. I mean, if you didn't go to the group arrangement and you didn't rock up at this designated spot on a Saturday, then you weren't there. You didn't do service. Where did you get the hours? So there was a point in my life where it was really difficult to cook up hours. I think when that surveillance eased, you know, when the regular people I would go out in service, when that kind of faded out of my life, it could have potentially been when I was in university when I started cooking. I don't know, can't remember really. But you know, at some point, really, I started cooking up hours because it just came a little. It became a little bit too much. Yeah, and I'm gonna go into detail about going into service, even that what it was like. I hated. In the beginning, I used to love going out in service. Yo, and I think, you know, like as I progressed in my teen years, there's just a part of me that like, this is becoming a chore and I don't like it. And I don't like it. Anyway, guys, I think for now I'm just going to stop there. And then, yeah, in the next video, we're going to continue with the next one. So please stay tuned. And thank you so much for the people who are watching my channel. And yeah, I hope this is helpful for you.